Today on the homestead, we're going to be making my homemade breadsticks for the freezer, so that way we have them on hand. The recipe calls for 2 cups of water, but I usually use 4. I double it because like I said, I'm making them up ahead of time for the freezer. I now have my 4 cups of warm water, and as you can see, I dried out my measuring cup because you'll be needing it here. As you can see, we have our yeast in there. Now, what I like to do is I just kind of give it a little whisk. Some people will just let it. Now our 10 minutes is up, and you can tell that it's all nice and bubbly and kind of foamy looking. So, okay, now we have our salt in there. You can actually kind of see it if you look really closely, the little specks. Also a pointer on the Italian seasoning, the garlic, pepper, pretty much any of your seasoning and herbs. It's all a personal. As you can see, I've got all of my seasonings and herbs in there now, so I'm going to whisk it all in, and then we'll be starting to add our... So since we are doubling this recipe, we are going to be adding, so it calls for 4 cups of flour. We'll be doing 8 total. Okay, as you can see, we've got our first 4 cups of flour in there, which also, since I do a lot of baking, you can see we have our first 4 cups of flour blended in, and it's very gooey. You can see it's very... As you can see, it's definitely a lot thicker after I added 2 cups out of the last 4 that I had. So now that it's all done, you cover it up with saran wrap, and then you're going to let it rise for either an hour. Now we have our bread dough rising in an area. If it's not warm enough in the area where you're putting it, then feel free to plug in a heater. Hey everyone, we are back. As you can see, the bread dough is doubled in size. It's almost to the top of the bowl. You're going to see that you're going to preheat the oven for 400 or at 400 to 415 Fahrenheit. Now we have all of our dough spread out in our greased cookie sheet. Look how beautiful that looks. Yep. Now you can see they are all nice and cut and scored. You cut them in strips, and then you cut them again down the middle. Now you can see we have our coffee cup and our stick of butter. We are going to be breaking this in half and getting it in there. As you can see, we now have our butter, our salt, which again I use pink Himalayan salt, pepper. The butter is now done. As you look at it, it is like really melty, lots of garlic. If you look, I pulled them out halfway through their cooking. I basted them so they have all of my herbs and garlic on. You can look, we added our shredded Gouda, and now we're going to pop that back in for about another 5 minutes just for it to melt. We've pulled them out of the oven, and as you can see, it's all melty and gooey, and I had to recut them because these are cooled down enough. My taste testers are ready. Okay, Belle and Ivan, go ahead and taste them and tell Mommy what you think.